Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. So question, everyone. Have you ever had this thought that you're somewhere or you're doing something and you say to yourself, I've been here before. This feels so familiar. You see somebody, I know you. You can't place it. You don't know their name. You can't place the face, but you have a feeling that you know them. Maybe you lived another life, and maybe you came back into this life, reincarnation. We're going to talk about that today. Lots of interesting things we've talked about in the past and getting together with this woman who is a spiritual healer, medium. She makes connections. She gives us clarity. She is psychic medium Judy, and she's back with us. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Very well. Very well. And I've pondered the reincarnation subject before, and before I even go to any thoughts there, I'm gonna believe that you believe in it. Am I right in saying that?
I sort of do. Yes. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I think yes.
Would you say
I have lots of evidence that it's real?
Yes. We're the same right there. We are the same, because I feel exactly the same way. And there's been different pieces of evidence along the way, things others have said that I trust, that have got me even closer to believing that there is, maybe there is. But am I 100%? No. Maybe, I don't even know the percentage. Maybe I'm at 60 right now, maybe 70. I don't know. What makes you feel and believe that we are reincarnated?
Well, throughout the years, there's been lots of evidence shown up in different ways. But the one in particular that actually brings it to my mind at the moment is when my sister was killed in 1971. Right before it, she gave me a wart. She had a wart on her hand and she was picking it. And I said, don't do that. They're contagious. And I had a mosquito bite on my leg, and she scratched it, and she said, there you go. Now you've got a wart. So as it happens, she died 3 days later. She turned a tractor over, broke her neck. And all through my life, I've always said there's something about this wart. I've even gone to the doctors and asked them to remove it, and they refused. And whenever things in my life were going wonky, this wart would grow. If everything was going really smooth, the wart would be really smooth, right? So that's been a common thing. And then my niece, my brother's daughter, had a baby. And I'm telling you, the wart fell off. And when I met her, the baby, her name is Beth, it was like looking into my sister's eyes. And even holding her and the way she went after me, she never met me. She was 6 months old, but she came straight to me. And it just, I'm wondering if my sister hasn't reappeared. And I mean, that has been 50 years now, right? 54 years?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm old. So anyway, it's been a long time. So it kind of made me feel it, but I've seen it before. I've had readings where I've read for people, and I've actually known when I've done these past life regressions with them that they've gone back into lives that they lived before. And it's always amazed me how the recall. I also have a connection to that, and I think a lot of what's happening right now in our lives is related to the First World War and the Second World War. I think the obesity problems, the starvation problems is all related to that time. I believe 85% in reincarnation, but I don't think we all reincarnate, and I don't think we all reincarnate at a given time.
So Your belief is we're on the same, literally on the same page as you describe these things. And with your
Okay.
sister, my most recent example of that, and I believing that pets can do the same.
I 100% agree.
It was 2.5 years ago. I adopted this cat, Orange Tabby. He is the sweetest, wonderful, loving. I can't even describe what it's like. Like he, just like a baby. I walk in, he jumps up on the counter. He wants a kiss. He wants to. He's like, "Come here, give me." He puts his paws up. Come on. I believe that he was sent, or there's a reincarnation of a cat that I had to put down in 2019, and that Orange Tabby and that cat. They're both rescues, but that cat was in a cage, horrible conditions, and I guess I saved his life, and he was mushy and loving. Fast forward to this cat 2.5 years ago. I got that cat for a reason, to help my family heal. And I believe
that was after your mother, right?
That partly, and some other stuff going on. But, and by the way, the cat, that the first one that passed in 19, she passed in 19. And I believe that cat sent this one as a, yeah, you helped me out, I'm going to help you out, brother. They both look the same. They have the same body. They have the same colorings. I'm convinced that you don't find cats like that.
And I'll tell you, my daughter got a rescue cat. This is quite a few years ago. And it was just, nobody would keep this cat. And it was a pedigree. It was a really expensive cat.
Wow.
And it wouldn't stay with anybody. And it had been found walking around just outside of Glasgow in this little town, quite a wealthy town. And this cat had obviously been very well looked after. But the mistress had died in the home, and the cat had got out. So it didn't know what to do. It didn't know what to do with itself, and it was wandering, and it was doing all these things. So I came to visit her, and I was here in Glasgow, and I heard this cat talking to me. I'm sleeping in the room with this cat. I'm not a cat lover, but I kind of am converted. Anyway, I heard this cat talking to me and telling me no one was ever going to love her because the woman that had her really loved her and looked after her and adored her, and everybody got rid of her. And she didn't like the other cat, and she didn't think Angela was going to keep her, and she was scared, and she really was acting as if that was true. So Angela got up in the morning, and of course she has all this evidence about her mum being this psychic mama type of thing. And so I told her exactly what I heard from the cat, and that she was to sit down with this cat, and she was to tell her that she was safe, and she was never going to get rid of her, and she was going to have a very happy life with him, but she had to stop attacking Alice, which was her other cat that she already had. Lo and behold, after they had that conversation, this cat adapted, it was fine, and it lived with them, and it was perfect right up until she died, which isn't that long ago anyway.
Wow.
Yep. They understand us, you know.
Did you... Now, you mentioned, I'll call it the 30s and the 40s, or even before that, World War I and II.
Mm-hmm.
Are you mentioning that because you feel like that time resonates with you? And do you feel that you may have been around during that time?
Yes, and I also feel that a lot of the people that have been born in the last generation are people that were part of that war.
How do you give me more clarity on that? I'm trying to focus on that.
So, for example, I saw a little baby, my girlfriend's granddaughter, and she can't stop eating. She's just constantly on the floor trying to eat. And this is unusual. I mean, I've seen enough babies to know it's unusual. But I've noticed this a lot in the last 20 years, that the children that are born seem hungrier. But the starvation killed more people at that time than the bullets did.
Wow.
So your soul has this memory, and of course, the first job of your soul is to make you survive. So it's saying, eat, eat, eat. You never want to starve again. Eat,
Now
eat, eat.
I got it. Now I got it. Now it's
So I think that's part of why we've had all these weight issues. The other thing is, if you were fat during the war, which it could have been a glandular thing or something, I mean, it's definitely a disease, nobody would speak to you because they thought you were helping the enemy. So you were cast out. So what do we have now? We have this brand new disease where people don't eat and they kill themselves by starving, anorexia, which is because they don't think people will like them if they're fat, so they're scared to eat. So I have those two items, and I've worked with supermodels and that I've helped release that from the past so they can eat again. They can start to feed themselves. Wow. And I think a lot of that is past life. So I think that our souls have these memories from past lives that affect who we are today.
So I want to focus on that for a moment, and what you're saying is very interesting. Mm-hmm. And I have two views of it. So one view could be, is what you're describing, and it makes perfect sense going back to those times, is that part of maybe our lineage? It's in our DNA, if you will.
I thought that too. Is it in our DNA? Is it a memory? Because they do say, our genes come and there's memories in our genes.
Yes.
Is it a generational memory?
Yes.
Or is it actually, but it becomes your memory too. So in a way, it is reincarnation. Maybe you're not the whole soul of the person that passed, but maybe part of it, maybe the generational part. Wow. I'm not sure, but I do have one that was amazing. And I mean life-changing. This young man came to see me, and he was literally made to come and see me because he couldn't function. And his girlfriend had come to see me, and she sent him. And anyway, he had the worst panic attacks. He would literally have to sit himself in the shower, run water on himself till it was cold, and he'd still stay in it trying to calm down these vicious panic attacks. So I took him back into his past life regression, and he was one of the people, according to what came out of the conversation, that helped get the Jews out of Germany. And he was of German descent. So all of this actually made sense to him when he came back. And as I brought him forward, one of the things that I do is I remove all the emotions that you have attached to your trauma. So the trauma no longer is so big. So anyway, I did that, and I saw him a few more times. And after that, he says, "You've changed my life. It's gone."
Wow.
He just no longer had this panic anymore. But it turned out his whole family had suffered from this, and I had to treat them all because the whole family. So is it a generational memory? That's a possibility. Do we retain part of the soul of other people when they come back? Is it like a mixture? I honestly, these are all questions that when I get to the other side, I might get answers to.
Oh, when you get there, give me a call. I want the answers too.
Okay, I will. I'll keep in touch.
Like, wait a minute. I just heard from Judy. What just happened? What you're saying here is an eye-opener, because now it makes even more sense about on the cellular level of it being passed on.
That's
but
right.
that is reincarnation of a sort. All right. So it's not like I was in 1922, I existed, and now in 2025, I'm back again. No, but a part of you or your family or whatever has
all the memories, the generational memory is passed in.
Yes.
So does that make more sense? Perhaps. But I have read and I have seen things where I actually believe that person is being reincarnated, but I think it's because they had something they needed to do.
What do you mean? What do you mean by needed to do?
Okay, well, we all do kind of have a little bit of a purpose for being here, right?
That's what I thought you meant. Okay.
And if they haven't completed their purpose, they die too early or whatever, they may request to come back in the whole of them.
So unfinished business, or could it also be, some say there is a lesson to be learned, and each generation, if the lesson isn't learned, you're just repeating it again. You're just repeating it again until you stop it, maybe by using like somebody of yourself to get that clarity. Can I share something that...
Wonderful, yeah.
I'll keep it real short. I have an affinity for the 1800s, mid-1800s, when there was photography. So you could really see what was going on. It wasn't a painting. It was a real deal. And I just love that time. Like, I could look at pictures forever. I could look at, just with the clothing. How did they even do that? They didn't have any machines per se. Everything. Wow. How did they do that? So I met a genealogist, and she said, let me take a look at that. Your life, whatever. I wasn't close to my father's family or him so much, but I found out I was Lithuanian through Ancestry.com, and I shared that with her. I said, yeah, I'm part Lithuanian. Never even knew. Just found out. She looked deeper into it. Turns out that my father's father was a tailor in Lithuania, a good one. Worked his butt off, made enough money to bring his family to New York City, got a place for them. He was also a tailor there. And she even knew what street he lived on. Crazy. And I didn't have any real information for her, but she figured that all out. But I find it weird or not that I look at the clothing in that time and it resonates. It's not like I've been there. I want to be back. I need to go back. And that's what he did for a living. I don't know if there's a connection, but I just find it very interesting.
It's very interesting, and it is totally. Is it generational or is it memories? I don't know. My great grandmother was known as the Witch of Southwick, and in those days, we're looking the end of the 1800s. Of course, she was very well known, and she, used to do potions and. Because even then there wasn't a lot of antibiotics. She made medicines and she was a holistic person and all of this. And I didn't find this out until I was an adult because my mother kept quiet about it because there'd been a family fight. And anyway, it was a family thing. We weren't allowed to meet that side of the family. So I was in Southwick, which is in Sunderland in Britain. And I knew that was the street she'd walked on. I could feel it. I knew exactly where I was. I knew it was just like I was walking with her eyes. It's a very strange sensation. Now, when I did check back with the other side of the family that I made contact with in Canada, I found out that, yes, that is where she had lived.
Wow. And how would you even know that? How would you even have that feeling?
It was a deja vu. It was a total deja vu. I was not lost. I was in this area. I knew the market was here. I knew Seoul there. I knew everything in this little area, and I had never been there before.
So I'm going to boldly say today that based on what you said, and you reaffirmed part of what I was thinking, but I've never verbalized it as you did, that there is reincarnation. Now, what level we need to look at, whether it's a generational thing, and I'm not talking about your genes got passed on, and if you have a certain health condition, your parents did, and then you have it. That's different. And even you talk to a lot of people in that regard, and many of them say that that genetics don't really. It isn't as big as we think it is. It's a lot smaller. But
I disagree.
Do tell.
I think our genes it is a memory code. I think it's coded. I think our genealogy is like the computer, the software that we're loaded with.
So genetics, genealogy, genetics, we're all talking about the same thing here?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say somebody's, I just talked to somebody over the weekend, and she had breast cancer. I believe she said her mom did, grandmother did. How would that look for you? Some might say, well, it's in their genes, it's genetics. Why?
Well, we do know that is genetics, but we also can look at the spiritual side of it. So we do know, for example, that pedophilia runs in families. We know that. We know if you've been abused by an adult when you were a child, there's a chance when you grow up, you'll abuse, right? We know that. We actually have generational facts that this is so.
Okay, so let's go right there. And it could be anything. You use that example. It could be anything. Is that happening to somebody because that's what they know from their, call it childhood, or it's just in their, I guess, best description, DNA, whatever it might be?
Well, I think it's part of what I've said to you before. It's about we have the need to love our parents. And the only way we really get to love our parents is to understand why they did what they did. Or to love our family. So we have to understand why they did what they did.
Truth.
So I think that's part of it. I'm not quite sure how much of a part of it, but it's definitely a part of it. And then it's willpower. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to be the change. So that's not passed forward in my genes. I'm just not. But then what you're not going to do is you're not going to allow it. You're the end. You're the stoppage.
But can't you end that, whatever that is, by the way, whatever it is, can you end that on your own, or does it take some spiritual intervention? Let's say from a healer like yourself.
I think it takes intervention, and it takes God. It takes that universal source that we all go to, where we get the power to change things, right? Inside of us is this little bit of God, this little bit of the universal mind, this consciousness that is, if you look deep enough, you find it. That's how, as a medium, we work. We're connecting to the magnificent of all that there is. That's how we're getting there. We're connecting to that little bit inside ourselves, and we're allowing ourselves to flow. Yes, it's fascinating, but we have willpower too.
So we're just about out of time. Final question, and this one I hear a lot. This concept. What happens in our lives, a lot of times, is a lesson that needs to be learned generationally, and if you don't learn the lesson, you're doing it again. Or
I believe so. That's what I do believe. Yeah.
The next person in your lineage, they're going to be dealing with it, and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. It's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
Are we here? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I think that we're also here to make things better. Like, each generation should be getting better. We don't see it at the moment, but I'm hopeful.
And you pretty much answered what was coming. I got chills from that, what you just said, because what I was going to ask you was, are we here to learn? Learn and teach. Learn and teach. And pretty much you answered that. I would think that that's reasonable, because that's what helps us become better.
I believe we're here to learn and teach. Learn and teach.
Wow. Your website, super easy to find. Let me make sure I have it. dylstudio.ca.
Correct.
Design Your Life Spiritual Studio. I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
I just want to hug you for coming up with that, because
thank you.
Spiritual Studio is just like so cool.
Yeah.
And actually makes it cool is what I'm saying, because sometimes it could be a little woo-woo, but those two words in itself say it all for me. But Design Your Life, we're a project. We're a work in progress. Picture an art studio. I want to design something. You're doing the same thing to your spiritual life.
And it's true. And I mean, even the health things, we know that, for example, allergies are attached to emotions. We know that.
Yeah. But based on what we talked about here, there may be more going on.
There's more going on. And the more I do this work and the more I work with people, the more I learn.
Yeah. Yeah. We're here to learn.
Yeah.
And
the penny just drops, right?
Right. We're here to learn, but guess what you did today? And teach.
Yes.
And teach. There you go.
Yes. And teach.
Judy, always wonderful talking with you. Love having you on here, and looking forward next time we get together.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, Steve. Have a great one.
You too. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.